Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. You are listening to episode 121.
It's a real pleasure to be here, Jel. How are you doing there?
So professional. They should get this guy to host every single time.
Well, as I was about to say, as I once told Tom Hanks on a bright April day, 280 miles off of the coast of Somalia, I'm the captain now.
That was you? I need to get your autograph after this.
Yeah, I even want an Oscar for it and everything. But yes, as you might have been able to pick up, we have lost both of our captain and first mate this week, which leaves it up to me to pilot this skeleton crew we have. But that's all right, because this week we've gone for quality over quantity. That's right. I have brought together maybe some of the finest minds in anime criticism the internet has to offer.
We have gathered an elite firing squad of the most highly skilled assassins from all over the world.
Exactly.
Getting some real low bars here, huh?
Yeah, let's get to introductions. I, this week, am your host, G, or you could call me the Wolf of the West Coast. And with me...
We could call you that.
You could call me that. And with me, the Wolf of West Flanders, Aqua.
Unfortunately, West Flanders is an actual place, and I don't live there. I just wanted to say, I'm an anime girl with big boobs, and I'm threading on Art Station.
we will all become Renaissance paintings of anime girls with giant tits within the next 5 years.
Evolution of art.
Yes. And with me, as well, another wolf, the Wolf of Westminster, Zig.
I'm not sure I want to be associated with Westminster in any sense at all at this point in time, quite frankly. But
behind the curtain,
the gesture.
I just went to Google and looked up regions that start
Places
with the word
London.
West in UK and Belgium. I'm not doxing my fellow podcasters here. I have no clue where they live. I just found places that started with West, okay?
No, that works. That works, quite frankly.
But yes, in all seriousness, we are here to talk about Fall 2022, which some might say is maybe the most star-studded season we've seen in a little bit. And
we're going
we are
to pay
here to
homage
watch
to that. Yeah, to watch like the fewest amount of shows we've ever discussed on the show.
Yes, as Aqua alluded to, big season, but again, we're going for quality over quantity here, which is why we have, 6 shows on this list.
Honestly, if we're going by the quality over quantity rule, 6 shows is considerably more than your average season, quite frankly, so I think we're doing all right.
You are totally right, Zig. I mean, just even compared to, last season, summer 2022, I think we are all... regardless of our tastes here, or what has caught our interests, I think we are all watching a lot more this season
absolutely.
than last.
Yeah, and part of that, I think, is there's a lot of name value shows coming up, and part of it is just that there seems to be more interesting stuff in general, it must be said. So, remains to be seen how well that will hold up, but first impressions are definitely we're in for a stronger season than the last one.
Right.
I definitely think so.
Yeah, if you're listening to this a week or 2 weeks late, like a weird little freak, do know that some shows that are very highly anticipated for the season haven't even come out yet at the time of recording.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, for example, look, I know some people have seen it. In fact, by the time this podcast is out, everyone will have seen it. We have not seen Chainsaw Man yet. We will also have not seen Bleach, Urusei Yatsura.
Urusei Yatsura is really late though. That thing is quite a bit way off. Still,
I mean, if you want to talk about late, To Your Eternity season 2 is 2 weeks from now.
God, yes. I'd forgotten that thing is actually still happening. I'd completely forgotten about it.
You and everyone else.
Oof.
Yeah, well, we're here to talk about good adaptations of beloved manga. So we should just roll into The first section we have here, which is going to be the returning shows, the household names that you've all come to know and love. And we're opening up strong here with the return of Spy Family with its second season.
Yeah, I mean, I think, ever since the beginning of the split core format, it has been kind of a compromise between, is this really a second season or is this just like a break in production? And this one definitely feels like a break in production. It feels like, because it's not like season one ended on like a big plot twist or like a cliffhanger or anything like that. We're kind of just back in the game. It is just more Spy Family, which is a good thing, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think. Yes. I think that is completely on the mark because, like, you watch this first episode and it just opens up as if no time had passed. Right? It's just we're back in it. The adventures continue. There's a dog now.
Yeah, dogs are good.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. Like, I guess Zig, as the one here who has not read the manga, what do you think of them opening up with a seemingly more serious tone with this return?
I mean, I think that the key thing to Spy Family is that it does balance those kind of like, not necessarily more serious, but more kind of like, because the whole thing is it's a blend of spy fiction and family drama, right? And
there's a bit of spy and a bit of family.
Right, and I would say rather than being, overtly more serious, it's just that this episode and presumably this like mini arc of episodes leans a little more towards kind of like the hard-bitten spy fiction stuff.
Right.
Having said that, there is still a psychic dog involved, so
yes,
we're talking relative here, but yeah, I think that the combination of those two factors are what keeps the show interesting, and I like it when it can effectively juggle those two things. And there's still some great jokes in this episode, so I don't think it's too much of a lean in one way or another.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Yor kicks that dude like a ping pong ball. It's
yes. The good thing about Spy Family is that it even though it is two very different things mixed together, it never loses track of the combination. As in, whenever we have a more plot or spy oriented episode, there will always be jokes, and even if we have a like fillery jokey episode, it will always be at least tangentially related to advancing Operation Strix.
Right. But yeah, I mean, honestly, on some level, I don't think I have much more to add because, like, look, guys, it's Spy Family. You know what it is. You know if you want it or not. Anya is the best little peanut that ever could.
One thing I will say is that I think that new opening by Bump of Chicken is not only every Bump of Chicken song ever in the way that all of those songs are, but it's also like super unfitting for the show. I think
it is just like, yeah, we got Bump of Chicken. You don't not want Bump of Chicken, right?
Right, but like it's just like this very generic pop song, and like at least the first opening had like the brassy hooks that attempted to like fit into the show's aesthetic, for want of a better word.
Bizarre mishmash of like the
I would
30s,
agree.
The 40s, the 50s, and the 80s.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you put a gun to my head. I think I actually do legitimately prefer the first set of OP and ED. I think in some regards, and this isn't really a knock against Spy Family, but is maybe a knock against, like, as we have talked about lately, the rise of like the Weekly Shonen Jump prestige anime of this Bump of Chicken OP is kind of just them bragging about, like, look, Spy Family is one of the biggest properties right now. Yeah. We're putting a lot of money into this, so we're going to animate what might as well just be like closer to like a music video than an actual OP. Like,
right, and like the like commercial aspect of licensing anime OPs has always been a part of the business, obviously.
Right.
And there are, plenty of memorable shows with absolutely like crazy unfitting openings. It's just notable here because I think in that first season, both the opening and the ending did fit surprisingly well with the material there. And there's
so,
less
yeah.
of an effort here.
Yeah, it's something that you notice a lot with like second OPs. That like the first OP is really like creative and thematically fitting, and then the second OP is kind of generic, which I guess has to do with the fact that maybe for the first OP, marketing wise, the like creators of the show still have a lot of input, whereas with the second OP, it's just like the record companies that sponsor the show are taking over and saying, you're gonna have this new song from one of our hit bands as your OP
it definitely
promoted. Like,
yeah, it definitely becomes a highly produced victory lap, I suppose. Which, hey, if any show has earned a victory lap, it's probably Spy Family.
Because like it's the thing you have to know. This is one of the shows that No Name are attached to, right? The weird like bands / collective that are kind of like representative of whatever Toho Records want to throw at a show. So
Right.
it's very likely that they are very like keeping a close watch on that production and are just deciding, what music goes into it for marketing purposes.
Right. Well, speaking of another show that has arguably earned its victory lap, we are talking about Mob Psycho 100 Season 3.
Thought you were going to say, speaking of cynical marketing ploys, but...
Ooh. Wow.
Oh, I think that first step...
I was talking about the whole... I was talking about the whole dubbing situation.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, we did go over that quite extensively.
Yeah, it is... Yeah, just... Again, it's very unfortunate what Crunchyroll has done with the dubbing situation. I think... again, it's very unreasonable of them, especially considering their size, but it's also a thing we definitely hashed out in the prior podcast.
Right.
We'll probably just roll into talking about the content of the show itself, which, at least from the Japan side of things, is not really responsible for the controversies there. At least I don't think they are. I mean, I don't know. We could always find out later. But yeah, speaking of another show that also just kind of opens up as if, like, expecting you to just, like, have watched season 2 last week or something.
Right, but the difference here is obviously that Mob Psycho 100, rather than being away for a couple of seasons, being away for a couple of years.
3 years, I think.
Right. So it is a little bit... It's odd, Now, I did not watch season 2, and this wasn't because I didn't want to. I enjoyed season 1 a great deal. There were just other things happening in my life at the time,
Fair.
obviously.
Yeah.
So I always felt that season 1 was a fairly complete story with like a fairly complete arc and denouement. So I'm interested to see, I'm interested to see what season 2 added, but like, what do you think the thrust of the story is here in season 3 in terms of adding to the characters of that world and like where they're going to end up? Because they've said definitively this will be the final season, right? They're going to cap it off.
I think this is sort of... I think you bring up some really good points, Zig, because this is sort of the energy of season 3, is that it is kind of a denouement, or at least it kind of feels like one, because, I won't spoil the events of season 2, but while I agree that I think season 1 is a very well-made, self-contained story, I think what made a lot of us love season 2 is that season 2 actually worked as a thematic conclusion to a lot of the kind of storytelling aspects that were brought up in season 1. And so season 2 felt like an appropriate climax, a capstone to Mob's story about him coming to terms with the powers he has and the responsibility he bears, possessing those powers. And so season 3 does kind of, again, it kind of just feels like a victory lap almost. Like, it's still Mob, it's still Reagan, it's still all those, lovable weirdos.
And to be clear, this isn't anime original, right? This is still based on the original...
This is still based on the manga, yes.
Yeah.
And I guess the idea is that the last kind of stretch of the manga, which I have not read to be clear, is it does sort of serve as a bit of a cool down period after the climactic events of season 2, which, like, again, I won't spoil, but season 2 escalates to the point where it arguably becomes just like typical shonen in terms of its stakes, instead of a subversion of shonen that maybe season 1 was. And it's kind of, season 3 almost understands that, well, where do we even go from there? And so the question, or the answer that that Mob comes up with, is to look inward. The sort of the focus of episode 1 is sort of the classic career survey form that the kids in Japan get, right?
Right,
And
a reliable trope to generate some introspective storytelling.
right, and so we have Mob who doesn't know, right? Like, here's a kid with, boundless power, but that's not how he feels he defines himself, right? And there's a lot of really good moments, I think, in this first episode that definitely work better because they are looking inward. It's Mob talking to Reagan, and of course Reagan initially gives his like dirtbag answer that's like just him making shit up. But then by the end of the episode, oh, go ahead.
No, I have an important question, which is, so how has this season been kind of like affected or reshaped by Reagan being voted Ultimate Tumblr Sexy Man 2022?
I mean, honestly, like, in all seriousness, in a world, did people like do the whole Reagan is a sexy Tumblr man thing around like season 2? Like, did this only start coming up like?
I feel like that joke kind of dates back to season 1 in my memory, at least.
Okay.
Even in season 1, you had the whole redraw Reagan meme, right?
Right, that is true. Yeah.
Like, and like it's the classic, like, he's kind of a dirtbag and like meant to be super conventionally unattractive, so obviously people love him thing. Like, and I think it's really interesting, because I think, like, joking aside, it is a demonstration of how good the character stuff is in Mob Psycho, that you can have, like, Reagan is like a 3-dimensional character, because he is a dirtbag, but he has redeeming qualities, and that's what makes him interesting,
And I think in that case, like, I wanted to ask that because, the first episode does have a pretty heavy amount of Reagan focus in it, because Reagan is sort of the most prominent adult figure in Mob's life. So when Mob is having questions about what he wants to do with his future, he asks Reagan. And by the end of the episode,
consistent.
Yes, I would say Reagan actually gives a surprisingly like good answer to Mob. And, I won't like hash it out here, but it sort of ends up being the message that, like, no matter how late you quote unquote have your revelation of who you are or what you want to be, like, it's never too late as long as you have that moment. Like, if you have that moment when you're 15, great, awesome. If you have that moment when you're 30, like, you still have like the rest of your life. And I don't know.
If you're 31, however, you're shit out of luck.
Oh yeah, well, shit. That's a problem.
So I guess my other question was, it sounds like, it is still a well-written, like, well-rounded story and show, and that's probably to be expected given that, it's continuing to be based on the work of one, the manga author.
Yes.
How are the production values? Because obviously, aside from their very good storytelling, seasons 1 and 2 were also renowned for, like, a truly impressive level of production polish that you may not have expected.
Yeah, I mean, spoilers, it still looks really good. I would say the first episode actually... Right? Oh, what?
It's still Bones.
Oh, yes, it is still Bones, yes.
And it's still Yuzuru Teshikawa, I think, right?
I believe so, but I'm actually not 100% sure on that. I probably should have checked that, but... I mean, it still looks exactly like the sort of house mob style that they've created over the last 2 seasons. Interestingly enough, I'd say this first episode actually does not go as heavy on the visual spectacle as you might expect, because it's sort of a more low-key episode. Like, there's still the obligatory Mob blows up a ghost, and so for the next, like, 11 seconds are the coolest fucking shit you've ever seen. But a little bit more low-key, but again, that could just be because of the story. I will say one less... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, one of the things that in my memory characterized season 1 so well is a really good sense of continual escalation. So that makes a lot of sense. They know how to build that story.
And I think they're doing that here because the other sort of B plot that is building up that I suspect will become the A plot soon is Mob does something extremely climactic and visible and impossible to ignore at the end of season 2. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, everybody knows Mob is a psychic, but more psychics and their existence can no longer be denied after the events of season 2. And there now appears to be a cult worshipping, if not Mob, then certainly the consequences of his actions at the end of season 2.
Right,
people
I
are
love that Vespers or something.
Yes. So, there is definitely an angle of like, oh man, is Mob going to become the subject of like unwanted attention as people come to him thinking he is like their new messiah, essentially?
So you're
and here we come, baby.
Yeah, you're telling me Mob Psycho 100 is a young adult novel?
but yeah, I mean, again, it's another one of those shows where at this point you kind of know the score with it. So,
right, I think that the only question here was would it fall back to earth from like impossibly high standards, and it sounds like that isn't showing any major signs of that. So that's fantastic. Obviously.
Certainly not yet, for sure. Again, it's a little hard to tell where things will go from here, but for now, it stays strong.
It's pretty interesting how both of one's major works now stand as an example of, on one hand, a show that remains consistently, like, amazingly produced and qualitative all the way through, and also a show that completely shits the bed and drops the ball in the second season.
It's really interesting how the respective animes of those stories, and the other one we're talking about is One Punch Man, for anybody who doesn't know. But it's really interesting how the reception to the animes have like shaped public perception. Because 5 years ago, say, I would say that One Punch Man was absolutely the premiere work by One, and it was, you know, the big favorite, the one everybody made jokes and like fan works about and stuff like that. And you've just seen that reputation be eroded over time, whereas Mob Psycho 100 has just sort of slowly emerged to become like the big shining star, like the mainstream favorite. So
I'd say it's even more egregious than that, because like prior to the anime from Mob Psycho 100 airing, One Punch Man wasn't really considered to be one was considered to be like, it's that joke guy who can't draw, who made the original idea for One Punch Man that Yusuke Murata made awesome.
Right, yes. There's also the fact that a lot of the hype for the One Punch Man manga was generated by Murata's incredible art. But, you know, even at the time, I felt like that was selling One a little bit short. You know, it was his idea.
Right, I definitely think it sells One short because, like, I have not read, much of the Mob manga, but I have seen pages of it. And the thing about One is, like, yes, are his technical skills maybe, like, not, at the expected professional level? Yes. But is his sense of timing and paneling and composition actually, like, weirdly really on point?
Yeah,
like,
there's a certain unique flow to that art style which can't necessarily be replicated even by like high def do-overs.
And he turns his weakness into a strength, right? Like, he's the Hiroyuki Imaishi of manga.
Well, I mean, I think it's true because Mob has a very distinct style. I mean, you won't mistake it for anything else, which is good for it, Unlike, well, we might as well just roll it to the long-running anime adaptation that has maybe fallen from grace in recent times. We're talking about
Bones' side hustle.
Yeah, Bones' redheaded stepchild. Like, that's a better segue, honestly. Thank you, Aqua. Like, if Mob Psycho is the Bones like passion project, My Hero Academia season 6 is definitely not their priority anymore.
It's so disappointing to me because when My Hero Academia started, I was like, this show is great. It has so much heart and, a unique style. Could this be the show to break out from the Shonen Jump shackles, And it has just fallen so hard into that, predictable pattern.
In a way, it kind of is. Like, I'm pretty sure My Hero Academia has been the best-selling comic worldwide for years.
Right, but I meant more in terms of, in terms of your personal taste.
Yeah,
I mean, like, My Hero Academia is big. like it's a huge hit, but also the audience for anime and manga has grown tremendously in the past decade and a half, And, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, Dragon Ball, all of these have been huge, massive international hits beforehand. It's less about the material success of it, and more just that it has sort of slowly fallen into that house style, which so defines.
It hasn't done anything to advance the formula the way Dragon Ball and One Piece have kind of done before.
Yeah, honestly, look, I'm gonna be real, guys. You're just gonna have to indulge me. There's actually only one thing really worth talking about with the new season of My Hero Academia.
Is it the hot girl?
It's the hot bunny lady. It's the one you've seen on Twitter and Pixiv and Danburu a million times. Mirko, the 5th ranked hero whose power is rabbit. She can do anything a rabbit can. It's just.
Like she could fuck up my hands real bad every couple of days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she could. Let me tell you. Mirko could.
Die of myxomatosis if she doesn't get vaccinated immediately.
So, yeah, I mean, whatever. The plot of Season 6 is, it's the big fight between the heroes and the villains. All the machinations that were, occurring behind closed doors have broken out. It's now... It's gone from a cold war between the heroes and villains to a hot war, and they're fighting in the streets, etc. And, fucking whatever. It's, that should be cool, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's really not.
How far ahead is the manga at this point? Are they pretty much caught up? Or
No, it's still a fair amount ahead. They've spaced out the seasons of My Hero Academia pretty well, actually, so that they always have a good amount of runway to work with.
Yeah, that's gratifying, at least, because you don't want to see the old stuff with Naruto where you death marched the staff into constant stuff, and then you had to have a bunch of mediocre filler. I'm just thinking, can you really escalate from an all-out open superpowered war? How much longer until you have to kind of call this story a day?
That's a good question, Zig, and I think Horikoshi is maybe still trying to figure out the answer to that in the manga.
Yeah. Hasn't he been saying the manga would end for 3 years now?
I do think it seriously is probably going to end within the next year. We are. I mean, oh god. I say that, but also you never know. But I mean, it's My Hero Academia. The manga is at the equivalent of Naruto fighting Sasuke at the end of the manga, right? It's you can't go, you literally can't go you can't escalate from this point any further unless you were to just suddenly introduce an entirely new status quo, which, to be fair, has been done before in manga.
Or you could do
that's kind of what Naruto did.
Or you could do a hot spin-off, which again
true.
Is what Naruto did.
Looking forward to Bakugo.
God, please no. But yeah, whatever. So really the only thing that's notable about My Hero Academia Season 6 at this point is they introduced the hot bunny lady, and she had her cool fight scene in in episode 2 of the new season, where she man, it's describing it will not make it nearly as cool as it looks, but she's fighting 3 or 4 super powered baddie villains at the same time, and one of them has psychic powers, and so grabs her arm to hold her down stationary so that another villain can finish her off, and she just rips her own arm off. She just pulls so hard, she just rips her own arm off, and then just fucking bodies all the baddies in 30 seconds.
As Faputa in Made in Abyss taught us, this is something that bunny girls can do.
It's a viable combat strategy. Yes, just cut off your own limb so you can keep fighting.
And I feel like I should offer the necessary disclaimer that we're not saying that Made in Abyss. We're not saying that My Hero Academia has suddenly become bad or terrible, or that you're a bad person for still liking it or anything.
Certainly
like that,
not.
It seems like it's a great adventure story. Tons of people like it. It's very popular. This is just kind of our personal hopes for something which was a bit more genre busting, and obviously, the way we feel about it. And that's true for everything we talk about, but I feel like a particular disclaimer is needed here because we are kind of busting it a bit.
For sure, yeah. I think those are all good points. And besides, Zig, at the end of the day, she does... I don't know what the name of this wrestling move is, but like she jumps on a dude's shoulders and like squishes their head between her rather large muscular thighs.
I see.
And then she does like a somersault, like a mid-air somersault.
Oh, it's
slams the dude's head into the ground.
Steiner screwdriver, I think.
Sure, all right. She does that so hard the dude's head rips off.
For kids.
Okay, that's not a regulation wrestling move, I will
Okay, maybe not. But it sure looks cool, and every guy between the ages of 14 and 42 says, "Man, I wish that was me."
Not a bad person if you like this. You're not a bad person if you like this. You are a bad person if you like Bakugo, though.
Yeah, sure, fair enough. Yeah, we won't apologize for that.
Speaking of bad people.
Yes, speaking of Kuso manga.
Also, I must correct myself. That was not the Steiner screwdriver I was thinking of. It's the Frankensteiner. But, just needed to get that one out there before my reputation as a wrestler.
Right, I was just about to say the intersection wrestling nerds and anime fans going to come and get you now.
I mean, they've already
closer
been
and closer into a circle every passing year.
True.
But yeah, so speaking of shit, but this time it's the good kind of shit. Pop Team Epic Season 2. I'm not sure we ever thought they'd be coming back, but they are, and
shit, affectionately.
So yes, they are back and shittier than ever.
I'm not sure what changed between the first season of this and this current season. Maybe I just became more appreciative of the skill of shit posting, but there's been 2 episodes out at this point. They've both been pretty amazing.
They're really strong. Yeah.
And in fact, we have they have both appealed to a particular one of us on this podcast, with Aqua and I in one corner and you in the other. I mean, I think we're all appreciative of all of them. But the first episode opens with one of the greatest things I've ever seen, which is the continuation of the Shota Aoi versus evil Shota Aoi plot, all in live action, which segues into a pitch perfect tokusatsu opening, complete with dumb idol song and tons of
you
special
really need
effects.
To have watched a lot of tokusatsu to appreciate just how pitch perfect of a parody
there are
it
a
is.
lot of super specific references to Kamen Rider Zio especially, which fits with the time traveling thing, but also just some of those sequences are shot in the exact same places that they shoot episodes of Kamen Rider and Super Sentai in, and it's just a really, really funny joke that they play right to the hilt. It's really great. That's all I'm really going to say about it.
I think that has always been Pop Team Epic's unique strength, is that when they see a bit, they bite down hard on that bit. They latch onto it. They do not let go of it, right? They commit to it and they take it all the way to its logical conclusion,
and then sometimes beyond the logical conclusion, where like Sideshow Bob stepping on the rakes, it becomes so unfunny it's funny again.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's very telling of the people, especially the director who also did Galen Dino, which had the similar thing going on of when we find a thing in this that we could turn into a god tier shitpost, we're going to throw everything we have at it to do so.
Right.
And sometimes that works, but the thing about that approach is that you get a lot of really high profile misses as well as a lot of high profile hits, like the infamous Garandino episode with the comedians, the Japanese comedians dressed in swimming trunks, that was just memorably weird but very unfunny. But then you get bits that just won't quit, like time traveling Shota Aoi, which is a joke that they have gone 5 or 6 levels deep on at this point. You want to talk about episode 2, G?
Yeah, I want to talk about episode 2. So, speaking of commitments to the bit to an almost unhealthy degree, they bring back a joke that they did from season 1 where Pop Team Epic briefly turns into a mecha anime, and they just fully embrace it this time, complete with bringing on, yes, the legendary Masami Obari on board, and Sunrise to direct and animate an entire super robot section of Pop Team Epic. And man,
so for a start, like they're not even trying to hide it. Like the unit of power the robot uses is called Baris.
yes,
but also like it's not necessarily specifically an Obari homage. It's just like a loving tongue-in-cheek thing to every single super robot anime ever. So you've got like all the tropes, like the bad guy powers up into a crazy new form, you know, and then like they get a new form of their own, and there's just so many terrific visual gags. The one,
totally.
Also, Nobuyuki Hiyama is there.
Yeah, Guy Shishio himself. Second half.
Is he? Oh, okay. I didn't know that because I only watched the first half.
Yeah, second half when they do the VA switch, it's Nobuyuki Hiyama and
Sure.
I forget the other dude, but I know he's also. Yes, he is also a brave veteran. He voiced Jay Decker / Duke.
Now that we're on here, maybe before you guys head back into discussing, it's actually pretty fun. I'm looking at the credits here, and all of the like Popoko PPME like teams that voice them in every half are like related because they starred in a famous anime together. For example, in the first episode, it's Aya Hirano and Minori Chihara from Haruhi.
Okay.
And the second half, it's Ryu Kugimiya and Roby Park from Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah,
Ed and Al. Okay.
I think that's been a bit going back to the first series. Like, who did they pair Norio Wakamoto with?
The voice actor for Frieza, I believe.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It was Frieza and Cell, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
so like it is clearly, and you know, this may be the thing, but like Pop Team Epic is so obviously a show made for people who are terminally online and terminally interested in anime, because so many of the jokes only make sense if you are like plugged into the metatextual reason behind them. But like in the Super Robot stuff, you know, not only are there like the big parodies of the cliche, but we get the Obari shot, you know, we get stuff like the vents opening after the super attack, which is a homage to like a bunch of old Super Robots and stuff. And also, you know, the bad guy is King Records, which is a not so subtle, not so subtle attack on, and like his job is to defeat them to keep the budget down. And obviously, like when they attain their final super form, the animation goes through the roof, and you know, it's
just driving the cost of this show, you know, off the charts. The fucking bit where the evil King Records robot says, "And now I will create a subcommittee." To create another subcommittee.
Who voices the evil King Records robot in the first half? Because I feel like I recognised him.
I did not do the research beforehand.
Yeah, this is where we need Iroh, who has like a superpower for.
Let me pull these credits back up.
Yeah, you might as well do that while we keep talking. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's Obari doing what Obari does best, right? Like, even as a joke, right? Even when Papako is saying, "I can't believe we're making Obari do this shit again." Like, let it be said, Obari just loves to do cool robots, and when he is given all the runway in the world, he will go all the goddamn way with it.
And I think the thing which makes it work is that the show does, like I said, it goes so deep that it commits truly to the bit, and that means, you know, getting actual Obari and his actual team of animators to animate this genuinely great looking robot battle stuff, you know, and that makes it so much more pleasurable to watch, you know, because it's not just a like randomly thrown out parody. It's, oh, you guys actually put time and effort and like deepened the joke by hiring the right people and hitting all the marks.
I mean, even the jokes that aren't done by it's not even just the Obari bits, but like, because all of Pop Team Epic is like, it's kind of an anthology, right? They get different studios and creators to do every segment, and so it is sometimes just really fun to just see, like, oh, what's fucking Kamikaze Doga gonna do for their like 2-minute bit that they've been subcontracted to do. And
I'd also like to shout out the opening, which is one of the most
man,
which is just one of the most like terrifically fucked up things visually I've seen in quite a while, and it's really
that
hypnotic.
OP is a goddamn night. If you look, we have a lot of we here the GLORIO chat have a lot of mean words to say about AI and procedural generation, but also if you told me that the new Pop Team Epic OP was animated by AI, I think I might believe you, because it's really upsetting.
Melty, like I described it as if you got all the animation cells and then like set them on fire so the edges all melted. Like it looks terrific. It's really good.
It's such a vibe.
But yeah, I am, as somebody who I think definitely was not a fan of season 1, and I think also the thing which happened in between season 1 and this is Gal and Dino made me more amenable to that style of just very like single joke targeted humor, you know. But I'm pleasantly surprised by how much I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, same. I think I'm definitely looking forward to more of it, because I think, you know, even as someone who likes season 1, you know, let's be real, there's going to be some real stinkers in season 2. Like, there always are. Like, it's kind of the nature of Pop Team Epic. But I think that because they swing for the fences every time, you're going to have a lot of really good bits coming up.
Yeah, we were saying before, you know, like, you take big swings, there's going to be some huge strikeouts as well.
Yeah, you know? Definitely.
But already, I think in these first 2 episodes, there have been enough good jokes. And not just the big bits, but also just some of the weird little one-off. It's like the continued Pop Team Epic B-side, reimagining it as kind of like a like Bishonen dating simulator is a gift which has so far
it's very good. Giving. Yeah. Well, I think that'll do it then for the returning shows. So we're going to move into all of these hot and new shows we're watching, all 4 of them. Speaking of a show that swings for the fences, Akiba Maid War. Have you 2 watched this?
Yes. I was going to say...
I don't know how to feel about this.
I was going to say, speaking of one-trick ponies, because I think this show has shown us everything in its bag.
It might have, but what a trick is it?
I mean, look, like, there is a long and storied history of anime going, what if hot girl, but also killing machine?
Like Chorus Recoil.
Well, that was very much not killing machine.
Oh, right.
I think, if you allow me...
Go for it.
This show, when it goes for what it wants to go for, it's pretty fun. But the problem is that the framework around which that whole thing gets hung up is still annoying. Like...
Okay.
And it's one of those anime cases where you're not sure where the parody ends and where the playing it straight begins. Like, is the show meant to make fun of maid culture, or is it, you know, trying to have its cake and eat it too?
Like, I think that this is like, I feel like this is a problem we identify in a lot of anime that is meant to be satirical. It's like doing the thing and then pointing out you're doing the thing is not satire. Like, you need to be a little bit more subversive than that.
I mean, honestly, I suspect it's not even that well thought out. I think the joke is just, haha, what if maids, but they kill people?
Right.
Like, I mean, we might as well just bring up the premise of the show as well, because it's a new show. We were talking about Akiba Maid War, a new PA Works original. It takes place in, I guess we now have to assume, is an alternate universe 1999,
right, where maid cafes actually existed in Akihabara in 1999,
right? And we have our plucky, you know, our plucky protagonist girl whose dream is to be a maid who works at a maid cafe.
So it's fiction.
Yes, and so she gets hired at a new maid cafe that's like pig themed, like it's like, you know, they're saying oink a lot, where the Japanese
all of the maid
equivalent,
cafes appear to be animal themed.
Animal themed, yes. Yeah. And this maid cafe is like down in the dumps. It's like they're behind on their protection payments or something. And like, this is the reveal where then you realize, oh, this is a heroic bloodshed Yakuza drama but
Right.
all the primary characters are maids instead of middle-aged Japanese men.
I was gonna say, this is like a Yakuza game, except even more stupid.
Honestly, this feels like a Yakuza sub-story. Like, I was watching this episode, and I was
Killer
like...
Killer Maids is definitely a Yakuza sub-story thing.
Right. Like, I'm half waiting for Kiryu to just walk in, like, off-screen and just be like, man, what's going on over here?
Yeah. Oh, this is the maid thing I've heard about, huh? Seems to be really popular with the kids nowadays.
Yeah, basically. But, yeah, I guess that is the thing, right? Is this first episode makes a really bombastic first impression, but as you guys kind of alluded to, did it put it all out on the field already? Like, does this show have anything else left in the tank after episode 1?
The show this reminds me of the most is Zombieland Saga.
I've heard those comparisons.
Because Zombieland Saga also comes out guns blazing with like the rap battle in the first episode. Or is it the rap battle?
Yeah.
No, it's like the metal thing where they're all headbanging. I think the rap battle is in the second episode.
I believe rap battle is second episode.
Yeah, I mean, but it also comes out with like this absurd premise that sort of kind of makes fun of a toxic, shitty aspect of Japanese pop culture, but also sort of doesn't. And then by episode 3, it's just become a straight-out idol show. Right, and I'm afraid that's what's going to happen here as well.
I will say, like, the action sequence which ends this episode is very good, and it's been a while since you've seen an anime that fits the classic 80s anime cliche of, oh, this is full of extremely gratuitous violence, right? Like, you don't often see fools just being wasted like this quite a lot anymore.
Especially not to a pop idol number like this. But,
right, but it's still in like a funny aesthetic, really pleasing kind of way, because they all get shot like straight in the head, and there's like a little squirt of blood that comes out.
There's some proper Gun Carter shit.
Right.
Yes, I mean, we didn't even talk about, I guess, I don't know, the deuteragonist, the supporting, I don't know, the primary second character, which is
MILF maid.
Yes, the MILF maid. Yes, a 35-year-old maid who claims she is a newbie, but seeing as we saw that prologue at the beginning of the episode, it is clear that, oh, this is like some like legendary old maid from, like, you know, the bygone era of the maid
golden era
or
of
something.
maids.
Or she's here to like avenge a grudge from that period.
I will say, I almost think it is a shame that they show the prologue at the beginning of the episode. Like, I almost think it would have been funnier if they had saved it as a post-credit scene.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Because then you are legitimately left thinking for the first half of this show, oh, it's just the most like bland, like maid girl ganbare like anime. And I think they blow their load too early by having that prologue at the beginning.
That is the telltale sign of a show that's not secure enough, or not like confident enough, I think.
Right, but at the same time, you know, like, it is a commercial TV product. I understand the need to provide a hook.
Right. Because otherwise, people wouldn't just stop watching in the first 10 minutes.
Well, except for, like, those people. But, I mean, there's a couple of other things I wanted to point out. One, the actual probable best joke in the episode is the idol song ending, which is sung in, like, the heroic bloodshed Enka style.
Yes.
But with,
it's
like,
so good.
But with all the inane, shitty lyrics of a
moe moe
right. Yeah, so they'll sing moe moe while like going to the extent of having the lyrics written in like vertical text.
Yeah, like, the vertical text,
like an old movie. It's just very, very funny.
I mean, I think that's a thing, right? Is like taken in a vacuum. I think there are individual parts of this episode that are actually really clever, sharp jokes.
Right. Absolutely.
It's just hard to tell, like, will they coalesce into something like legitimately worth watching in the long run?
And will they commit to the bit? Will it, or will every episode be like, haha, look at this boring, generic, cliched maid stuff, and then the final 5 minutes are like cool, heroic bloodsheds with jokes? Because that's not how you make a show, you know? Why not have jokes throughout the entire episode, even when they're not shooting each other and being like Yakuza delinquents and stuff like that?
Right.
It just feels very uneven. It feels very, oh, we brought Sam Raimi on during the final 10 months of production to do his thing for like 5 minutes spread throughout the movie.
Right.
Like,
I wonder what you could be referring to. I mean, I think if the only thing this show achieves is oh, we mashed up a maid show and like a hardcore gangster show, then that's kind of funny, but not something you can really eke a great deal of mileage out of. The other thing I will point out is that this is a PA Works show, and
Yep.
already it is a show about a small town girl who has come to the big city determined to gamble her
Look,
way to
okay,
the top.
PA Works has a house style, all right? In the same way that Omaishi will find increasingly funny ways to save money, PA
Or
Works
dunk
will
on
do...
homeless people.
Okay, fine, that too. PA Works will do its plucky small town girl moves to the big city plotline.
And look, maybe I'm just like especially cynical of PA Works after like your boy Kongming kind of flamed out about halfway through.
I mean, in a lot of ways, your boy Kongming suffered from the exact same issue of it had exactly one or two really good jokes.
Right.
You have a great idea, but you cannot organically grow that idea into something that makes. And like, I will point out, PA Works has a history with doing great action. Like Sirius the Jaeger looked fantastic and had some cool fights. What
about Angel Beats?
What a.
All right, let's keep this on track.
Yeah, okay. The only thing I will say is that, like, also, again, and this is a personal preference, but, like, I hate maid culture so much, and I'm not sure whether I want to suffer through the maidy bits for the shooty bits, if that makes sense. Especially, like, when this episode, granted, they do kind of try and subvert it, but there is a whole bunch of shit about at the beginning about how maids make dreams, and I'm like, fuck off.
We just stole the script off of the set of Love Live and replaced the word idol with maid.
Well, Zig, what have I told you about the next two shows on our list, which don't have any subverting elements whatsoever and are just about the cute girls doing cute things?
Oh boy.
Well, okay,
Shall we start with the one we've all watched?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing. I actually did just watch Bocchi the Rock before this podcast. So
I have not seen Bocchi the Rock.
So. So we're talking about the first show here, Do It Yourself, or DIY, as it is often known. This show is... I mean...
I really want to like this show.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? Is like, what an unbelievably charming production. Like, this is legitimately, like, in a season with a bunch of really high-profile standouts, Do It Yourself, in spite of all that, is still one of the nicest-looking shows this season.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily because, like, it has a huge staff or huge budget or stuff. It's just incredibly charming. It does a lot with a little in terms of, like, animation and art style. I love it whenever anime is persuaded to get away from standard character designs and all these weird, scratchy, noodly girls covered in like scars and plasters and stuff like that, and kind of like the watercolor backings and
small girl, big clothes.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, like there's a very almost Azoken or like Deno Coil sort of inspired visual language.
Flappers also a bit.
Flappers keened more towards traditional anime character design, at least in the quote unquote core segment.
Right.
Like there's a very fun organic looseness to it. Like
that's the word.
Like
looseness.
Like there is an art. So this is a common thing all animation does, right? But when a character is further away from the camera, they tend to become less detailed, right? Shorthand because it's just not practical to like draw a character as detailed. And there's a real art to simplifying a character, and like I love the way in which these characters are drawn when they're like in the middle ground or background, where like they're like kind of squiggly and loose, but they're still undeniably recognizable. Like it's a real talent.
And there's some great character animation as well. There's a few like weird ticks and twitches and
totally
all that kind of stuff. So it looks great.
Right. I think another factor that brings into like the goodwill we can have for the show is like it has pretty good art design. Like the color palette is fun. The sort of like dreamy, like pastel-y like color is different enough from other shows like this to stand out.
Yeah.
And I really like how this show is like casually set in the future. Like people have like weird things like retina scanners to enter their house and like
autonomous
driving
cars.
buses. Yeah.
So
it's a weird choice, but a fun one.
I'm going to bring something up about this show in a little bit that has not been confirmed, but is pretty heavily rumored that may explain some of these aspects of its production. But just to summarize the plot real quick, because, it is a new show, it is about a girl named, well, this is a pretty excellent name, the girl named Yua Serufu, enrolling in a new high school, and spoilers, she doesn't know what to do with her time, but then she finds the DIY club, and you can
They accept her even though she is such a klutz.
And that's all you really need to know. That's it. That's the problem, right? That's the problem with the show, right? Is that's
Yes.
it. That's all there is to it.
It's a Kirarake show. What did you expect?
It's incredibly cookie cutter. I thought for a moment that they were going to defy at least one cliche by not having her railroaded into joining the club, but then they do that anyway, and they even pull the old, the club's existence is threatened if you don't assemble a team of misfits to fulfill your quota stuff, and it's all so incredibly by the numbers.
I just think it is a shame because, again, it's we just said all these things about it's a great looking show. The characters, in the beat to beat moments, these characters are likable. Serufu is kind of a fun, weird, ditzy, airhead.
Yeah.
And I want to like these characters, but it's but what you see on the surface is literally all you get from them. And that's the real heartbreaker.
And this structure is just so predictable, and they don't give us any signs that they're looking to subvert it or play with it in any way. It's just as basic as you could possibly be.
Yeah.
There's not even a weird twist they're all zombies.
Right. And what they should have done is they should have made this an Aizoken and actually make it about doing DIY for 20 minutes and painstakingly explaining how to make it a birdhouse and woodworking and stuff like that.
It might yet become that. But.
Yeah, with these types of shows, it would not surprise me if it eventually does become that. But then again, even if they do that, if it's not attached to characters who are interesting or compelling, there's not much to work with there. But the thing I did want to say that, again, has not been confirmed. So if this is fake news, if I'm spreading misinformation, forgive me. But there are some pretty substantiated rumors that the reason why this show has such a distinct look and feel to it is because supposedly it is being, and this is supposedly being kept on the down low. This show was originally headlined by someone who goes by the pen name of Imago, and there's a lot of substantiated rumors that this is the pen name of one Mitsuo Iso.
Huh.
Of Den-O Coil and Orbital fame.
Yeah.
Huh.
So hold on, just to clarify, is it that what's the pseudonym? Sorry,
Imago.
So is it that Imago is definitely the lead artist, or is that part also rumored?
No. It is true that that someone by the pen name of Imago is the showrunner for DIY.
But it is
their
not known
identity
who
is not
Imago
confirmed. Yes.
Isuro would make a lot of sense given the style, and also considering
the futurism aspect.
Yeah, the vision of the future is very similar to the one espoused in his other works.
So again, this is not hard confirmed. Obviously, there's no it's there's a lot of stuff that's being talked about on image boards and Twitter. All right, it's we don't have any articles confirming it. It's just that. Apparently, there's a lot of things that line up about this production, and some of the other names attached to this show are people who are common collaborators with Mitsuo Iso.
So I guess
the credence to it.
I guess the question is, what reason does he have to work under a pseudonym?
That's the thing nobody knows.
Maybe because he doesn't want people to have expectations that this is going to be a Mitsuo Iso work. That he's going to do the sci-fi thing and the transhumanism thing. And
right, another Den-O Coil or Orbital Children's size production.
That this is just a way for him to, just make something casual, something low stakesy, right, without it having to bear the brand of his name.
I think that's actually a pretty valid theory, because yes, I think for better or worse, Mitsuo Iso's name does carry a fair amount of weight, so you hear that name, you definitely go in with certain expectations.
The only thing I would say about that is that when, because it is a known fact that anime and manga creators do sometimes help out or work on other shows under pseudonyms. I mean, there are plenty of famous examples of people doing that. I mean, Anno worked on. Actually, I think Anno did some storyboarding on Revolutionary Girl Retainer, but I'll have to double check that. But normally when this happens, you don't take the position as showrunner. That's a big job with a lot of work, right?
Again, yeah, it's you are right, Zig. Like I said, I think for better or worse, this information will probably become known within like the next like few weeks, right? As like aspects of the production just get out there. But I think you're right. So again, like it's hard to say like what would motivate like the use of a pen name, but again, I am just parroting like things I have read elsewhere from people who I would consider to be somewhat knowledgeable of this type of information, but
I mean, you would probably know this better than I do, but the ways of an artist are often impenetrable, right, G? I mean, you have musicians who have like 5 different aliases which they use to release different albums, and then every time they get interviewed, it's like, oh yeah, but this didn't really feel like an X album. It felt more like a different identity of myself.
Yeah, and sometimes
like, this is the same fucking music, dude. Like,
yeah, and sometimes they have really lame usernames like Guitar Hero.
Go to the doctor. You say, "Doctor, I have depression." Doctor says, You should go on YouTube and watch Guitar Hero, best guitarist I've ever heard.
but doctor,
bring back Yuki-chan's Papa is what I say.
I am Guitar Hero. All right, let's talk about the next show here, which is Bocchi the Rock, which, as much as I might have thrown shade at it, I actually walked away from this one quite positive on.
It's actually a pretty good show.
Yeah, I like this is how I want to see this format done, right? If you're gonna do the cute girls doing cute things with an object, like do it like Bocchi the Rock.
Right. So Bocchi the Rock is a girls in a band anime. It is as Kirara K as they come. It actually was published in Manga Time Kirara. But the thing is, after watching this, I felt like this is so unconventional. I wonder how much of it is in the actual manga. So I checked out the first 2 chapters of the manga, and it's very clear that this is not a straight adaptation, right? They have the framework of your bog standard cute girls doing cute things show, but they expanded on it so much to give it a lot more edge. Like in the original manga, the main girl is just like a shy, introverted, little annoying little clumsy shy girl. But in this show, they turn her into a complete dysfunctional disaster.
Oh, this girl's got capital A anxiety.
Right. And it's held by a great vocal performance, like big Kana Hanazawa and Bimbo Gamiga energy. And they take everything, it's very similar to K-On!, not just in that it is about girls in a band, but also in that it takes a rather crappy 4-koma manga and laser focuses on the good aspects and then zooms in on them to make them way more important than they were in the source material. This show is willing to take the piss out of itself.
Oh, totally. I mean,
the big climactic scene, for example, is her. So she's the story is, she learns how to play the guitar because she wants to get more extroverted, but soon finds out that even though she's gotten real good at the guitar and is internet famous, she's still super shy. So one day she gets invited to join a band, and she's like, "Oh no, I don't want to do it. I have stage fright." And the episode ends on her performing while hiding underneath a big cardboard box on stage. And they frame it as "Oh, this is the great moment where she finally overcomes her anxiety and shines on stage." And then the screen freezes, and you hear the voiceover is "This is the worst fucking moment of my life." And then it cuts to her being super depressed and saying this was the lowest point of my life, and the other 2 girls are "Yeah, that performance was kind of mid." So
it's really actually refreshing how well they approach a lot of the topics that this episode covers. I truly love, because I think okay, look, everybody has done what I can't remember her name, so I'm just going to call her Bocchi. Everybody
Bocchi. I mean, Bocchi is her name.
Yes, that's her name now. Everybody has done at one point in their life, whether it was in elementary school, middle school, high school, God forbid, maybe even college, has done the thing Bocchi did of, I have a hobby and I want friends. I know what I'll do. I'll wear clothes and accessories that signify my hobby. Then people will definitely approach me. If I bring my volume, if I bring my volume of manga to this university lecture, people will definitely approach me and talk to me about that manga, right? And then we will be friends, right?
Definitely.
God.
I mean,
that is a relatable. Like, we're joking, but that is a relatable dilemma.
Right.
No, it is, because here's the thing, right? It's like, introverts don't want to necessarily be alone. Introverts want friends, like, most of the time. It's just that, like, often the task of reaching out to people is so, like,
tied in with activities usually only enjoyed by extroverts.
Right. Or it's just so oppressively daunting that, like, it can be very difficult to even breach that topic, right? And I think that Bocchi the Rock does a really good job of illustrating that. I mean, even her, like, dream of playing guitar to make friends, like, is appropriately realistic, right? Like, yeah, you can get really good at guitar, but if you don't actually share that with anybody, if you don't talk about it with anybody, like, people are just, like, people are not nearly as aware as we all think they might be, right? And that goes both ways, right? Like, in a lot of ways, this is what helped me soothe my own, like,
right. I mean,
anxiety
this is the best
about,
thing
like,
you could possibly tell someone who is like afraid of or anxious about being embarrassed. People usually don't care about you. Like,
yes. Like, that is the truth of it, right? Is, like, people are not usually paying that close attention. But yeah, I mean, I'm really digging it. I'm really curious to see where this one will go as well, just because, like, it's obvious that Bocchi is not going to just, like, ganbare her way out of anxiety in, like, 2 episodes. Like, this is clearly going to be a work in progress for this character. But
also, shout out to, like, one throwaway joke from the manga that they turn into the greatest joke in this anime adaptation, which is, like, when she's, like, angsting about how she can't do anything right, she insists that, like, the only thing I could possibly meaningfully do on stage to provide entertainment for the audience would be to commit seppuku. And then there's like a fucking Imagine spot of her stabbing herself with a guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, like, I looked up the people behind this, and this is a debut director. Like,
really?
Promising new director Keiichiro Sato, whose only previous credit is on, or at least previous director credit is on an OVA for the show Aka. If anyone remembers
that one.
Like,
that was like
I do not.
The Pretty Boys Secret Police?
Yeah, I wanted to say the Bishonen Stasi show.
Oh, God. It was a very stylish show, though.
Right. But this is, like, a clear example of, like, hey, we have this license for, like, source material that cannot by any stretch of the imagination be called exciting. Go ape shit. And that's clearly what he's doing. Like,
that's cool. That's always fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, weird animation shifts. There's a lot of, like, everyone's involved in it. Sounds like they're having so much fun. Like, the voice actress for Bocchi can go, like, scream and go hoarse and have her voice break whenever she's freaking out.
Right.
It's a bit sad that the show still looks like a bog standard cute girls doing cute things show. Like, these character designs just do not fit the vibe that they're going with.
Yeah, I think yes.
That's where you're limited by the original source material.
Right.
Like, it's almost like Bocchi the Rock and Do It Yourself traded one for the other, right? Like, Do It Yourself, in exchange for its, like, an utterly charming presentation, has, like, nothing of substance, whereas Bocchi the Rock is a much more interesting one of these shows, but visually it's, I mean, there's some decent bits, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of visuals. It's just that, like, in terms of art style, it just looks like one of those.
Pretty bog standard, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm interested in finding out more. This show seems to genuinely care about music.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I'm interested in finding out how far they take it.
Well, speaking of shows with style, Zig, last podcast, you said that noted gamesman Hideo Kojima should watch Utena. Well,
Yes.
unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he got around to it. But what if I told you that Ichiro Okochi and the rest of the boys and girls at Sunrise did?
Yeah, this one of the less predictable swings in
And
It's a
we are talking
revolution,
about
guys. It's a
yes, we
revolution.
are talking.
Finally, a Gundam show for men.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes, we are talking about
Definitely, yeah.
Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury.
This is like, so this has created something of a firestorm on the internet for a whole bunch of reasons, which are probably not worth going into. But
They're lesbians.
it definitely feels like coming into this show, like Gundam has had, at least in Western fandom, the most momentum it's had in years, right? Like Iron Blooded Orphans was kind of a breakout hit in the West, and in terms of, you know, just the general visibility of Gundam, but like there's been a growing sort of a wave of people who are excited about this show, and these first couple of episodes are not boring, for the want of a better word. You know, I mean,
They're going for it.
yeah. I mean, tell me how you feel about them, G. You know, because I'm
Sure.
interested, because I feel like, just to elaborate, I feel like I wouldn't necessarily call it polarizing, but I feel like I've seen a wide range of feelings about, especially episode 1, but some of episode 2 as well. So I'm interested to see where we all stand on it.
Sure. I think so as of this podcast, if you include the prologue, technically there have been 3 episodes of Gundam: The Witch from Mercury out there. And for my part personally, you know, look, I've said before that it is hard for me to love a Gundam right out the gate because I have been burnt so many times. As I've said before, purely on its premise, Iron Blooded Orphans is the Gundam I literally dreamed of since I was like 15. And then it became what it actually was. So for reasons like that, it's hard for me to necessarily fully buy into any given Gundam. But if I'm to judge basically just, you know, on my emotional reaction, how I feel about these episodes, God, you can hear it in me. I am struggling to even get these words out because I'm scared of saying them into the world. But
God damn it, Zig! What did we tell you? Don't make him talk about Gundam.
I mean, look, we have to. There's a show happening. We have to talk about it. That's literally the reason we're here.
I am rather taken by this Gundam. I think it is making some very bold, inspired choices, and for me, Gundam is at its most interesting when it makes these types of leaps in either tone or premise or theme. And, you know, I think of what we've seen so far, I really like what they are doing. In fact, like, I know some people have gotten out there and be like, man, you know, the main shows, there's a lot of total whiplash between that and the prologue, to which I, with my galaxy brain, go, no, you see, that's intentional. Like, even if this plotline eventually gets thrown away in the end, one of the things that I've really been drawn to by this new Gundam is sort of the nature of how rules are created, who gets to enforce them, and who has to obey them. And what I mean by this is that in the prologue, Delling, sort of at least framed to be the primary villain of The Witch from Mercury so far, Delling orders a extrajudicial black ops killing of, you know, what are essentially like potential competitors.
Right.
In the
direct
sort of
competitors.
Right.
For better or worse, he is the person who is being established as Space Hitler in this early.
Yes.
I do like
yes.
how he like in his big speech frames it as kind of like almost like a progressive pacifist kind of movement. Like he's making the institution look bad so he can, you know,
Yeah, it's
Right.
a preemptive strike.
right. So he can behind the scenes just take out a competitor.
Yeah. I really do love that speech because it feels like the writers, which I guess would primarily be Okochi, have listened to how demagogues and populists have spoken in the last 5-10 years, like the types of terminology and rhetoric they use. But the reason why I really like that is because in episode 1, then we get introduced to the actual premise, which is that Suletta Mercury enrolls at basically Gundam school, with her Gundam.
Space School.
Yes. And we find out that now, 10 years later, well, the way to inherit Delling's considerable wealth and power as the de facto leader of the Benerit group, which is this kind of monolithic conglomerate that monopolizes.
There's an important fact, which is it is a conglomerate of conglomerates.
Right.
Yes.
It has what is it? 120 something sub companies who are sort of battling for power and control within the structure. So you get a lot of corporate backstabbing, which I'm a big fan of.
Exactly. And I think, again, I wonder if they will actually confirm this or not, but what Delling does in episode 1, or what Delling has created in episode 1 in the 10 years since the prologue, to some people it may seem initially contradictory. Wait, now we're fighting in ritualized duels? And it's no, that's of course he would do that once he has taken the reins of power for himself, right? Because he knows that how he got power is he ordered a Black Ops killing of his competitors. So how does he prevent other people from doing the same to him? By enforcing this utterly insane cultural ritual of dueling to win the hand of his daughter.
Right, and this is where the Utena comparisons come in. The idea that these people are fighting for a chance to marry, mysterious waifu, basically.
And also the idea that the female character is seen as property of, or a piece of leverage these men are using in their political power games, right?
Yeah,
right, and I will say that I think that idea is great. I think the manifestation of that, which is what's the girl's name?
Miorine.
Miorine,
that's it. I will say that the show presenting it as Miorine having fairly cliched daddy authority issues is not so great, but we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, she's probably, I wouldn't call her necessarily the weakest link, but she is definitely the character that I think will probably need more time, I think, to truly develop from where she is right now, because unfortunately, she is already falling into the trap of becoming the Gundam princess of, the sort of mostly helpless figurehead that's meant to represent a greater ideal.
Right.
But
I mean, I would like to nuance that a little bit, because at the end of episode 2, she does, take her fate in her own hands, and she literally just walks up to Suletta and is like, we're gonna fight. You're gonna fight on my behalf, and you better not screw up. She seems to be a take on that trope, but one for modern times, at least.
Right, and I think it does work because then you have Suletta, who sort of contrasts that. As in this case, the knight in shining armor is the sort of more passive one, at least when she's outside of her Gundam.
Right, and I think those character dynamics are the most difficult things to establish from just two and a half, let's say, episodes. And they could go, I think, for me, I appreciate that Suletta is not suddenly a super ace like a lot of Gundam characters are, that she's clearly capable, but she's nervous, she's not good with people, she's a little weird because she's the equivalent of Gundam homeschooled, basically.
Yes.
I do wish that they would make it a little bit less obvious that they're doing it for moe points, if that makes sense.
I'm still kind of thinking it might be an act.
That would be a really impressive twist. If
that would be very impressive. I go ahead, Aqua.
No, I was thinking it might be an act, because the whole idea that she's sent to the school to be sort of a plant for her mom, who is apparently the char of this show.
Yeah.
So.
That's not her mother, though, is it?
No, it is.
Oh, I think that is.
Yeah.
Because she has the same prosthetic arm.
The official material confirms it, that she is Lady Priscilla.
Oh, okay, because they don't have the same name. Obviously.
No. Oh well, I mean, neither does Suletta. So.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. That Suletta and her.
I mean, she has the same voice actor. She has the arm.
Yeah. But also she is Char because she is wearing one of the silliest masks yet.
No, you see, it's a prosthesis. What, Zig? What if Char could have been like a mother to me?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a story for another. I will say that mask, like as the rare,
it to be like that. Wait.
Yeah, as the rare full helmet version of the Char mask, it gives me Zex Marquis vibes.
Oh yeah, a little bit of that for sure. But I mean, heck.
It'll be interesting because, no, just to elaborate on that a bit, like, the traditional position of the Shah is obviously as a direct rival to the main character, so, like, especially, like, having it be an adult in a position of authority who, by all accounts, may be the mother of the main character.
That seems to be the quote-unquote good guy?
Yeah, I mean,
it's Gundam.
Look, it's Gundam. Like, I think it's fair to say that she has an agenda which she is using Suletta and the Gundam Aerial for, you know, like, and you know, this is what's interesting about new Gundam shows, is that, like, in a certain sense they are predictable because we know that they will center on a certain theme and a certain set of tropes, but it's the way in which each individual show remixes that formula which is intriguing. Right.
I think that is always what has...
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to... I think the thing that has always kept Gundam interesting, if not good, then interesting, is that I think of the many long-running franchises that have arguably stuck around for too long. Gundam has always felt a sort of, again, unless they're doing their blatant UC pandering like Unicorn, Gundam has always felt a need to try to reinvent itself for the times. I mean, like, anyone who's like complaining about like how weird the Witch from Mercury is like, have you watched G Gundam lately? You know, like, Gundam has always been willing to do this.
Right, like any long-running franchise, it has to adapt with the times, and with its, you know, with its themes of like, new technology that is like unregulated, what do we do with it, and like criticism of corporate capitalism. The show is definitely like has its finger on the pulse.
Yeah, and it helps that the pulse is some of the classic Gundam tropes, like the idea of, you know, corporate espionage, you know, forbidden weapons of war, transhumanism. All of this stuff is classic Gundam grist that goes all the way back to the original series.
I mean, it can reap the benefits of the trailblazing role it played like 30, 40, 50 years ago.
I think, you know, to return to like direct critique of the episodes, for me, I found the first episode really fast-paced, and because of that, a little flimsy.
I mean, the second episode is also really fast-paced. There's a lot going on here.
I don't think it is. Like, a lot of things are happening, but most of it is we are being introduced to a number of background concepts and stuff, and it's not... One of the problems, to me, is the first episode is that things happen so fast that we're not necessarily given weight for them. Like, the duel is spectacular, but like we don't actually feel it that it's super important because we haven't established the opponent or the stakes so much. And I think the second episode throws a lot of information at us, but it's much more in the vein of traditional exposition, you know, and for the most part, not a huge amount happens in the second episode. Most of it is, should we scrap the Gundam or not? And, you know, the result of that is we get some interrogation scenes. The interrogation scene, I feel, is almost certainly a direct homage to Zeta Gundam's first episode. And, you know, we get a dramatic courtroom scene. And, you know, all of these things are cool, but they're much less frantic than the first episode. And so for that reason, I preferred the second episode a great deal.
The first episode I understand what you're saying, because it does rush to having, you know, we need to have a cool mobile suit fight at the end.
Yes. Like, so this is where I have to push back. I mean, I think your take is totally valid, Zig. I do think that, yes, like, they really do just speed run, like, pushy, shitty suitor. Like, they're speed running the shitty spouse, like, or shitty fiance tropes as fast.
Like I said, when we were watching this guy reminded me of the guy in the car from Comet Lucifer, who's also like a shitty fiance to the main character's childhood friend, and who like comes in offering her his best steer. Like, it's as random as that.
It's like, a much more overtly comic take,
right? Yeah, I would say, but so here's the thing I'll say, like, I totally agree, but I also think that, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I did like both episodes, you know, for the reasons that I like Gundam. You know, the second episode definitely has a lot more of that sort of intrigue that I would expect, but I think that first episode is just a really, I think that especially for Gundam, right? Gundam has to be flashy on its first impression.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Like I think that first episode had to introduce things as fast as it did to get to the duel, because I mean, let's be real. Whenever everybody's talking about the new Gundam, what everybody is really talking about is like the last 6 episodes of that first minute. Of the first episode, right? Is like everything from the duel to the freaking feathers raining from the sky as the sun beams down on our newly wedded couple.
We want to see the robots and the lesbians.
Like, as we have long established, like, a good Gundam requires doses of both wow, cool robot and war is bad.
Indeed,
there needs to be a balance. I think
look,
No, go on, G, go on.
I'll just say, sometimes you just want to see a big dumb jerk just get ripped to fucking pieces in like 20 seconds.
Yeah, but my argument would be that it would be much more fun if you had spent some time establishing that dude as a jerk and making you hate him, rather than like meeting him and dispatching him. And obviously, you know, given what we learned in episode 2, there's something of a reset. We're going to see that dude more. We're going to see him probably taking down a peg several times. You know?
Definitely.
And I think these 2 episodes, like, and to a lesser extent the prologue, are well structured to deliver kind of a decent, concise mission statement of what we get. Because in the prologue, we get the very heavy political stuff, we get the transhumanism, we get the mysterious conspiracy dating back years, you know, all heavyweight plot elements. In the first episode, you know, we get a slightly more goofy, pulpy take on our characters, a very fast-moving plot, some cool robots, and all that jazz. And in the third episode, we get more talking, we get more industrial jockeying and like corporate espionage and all that kind of stuff. So between them, these 3 episodes present 3 separate facets of the story, which I think is enough to, you know, hook various kinds of people.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like, I mean, this is always one of those classic things of this is one of those classic things, right? Of, you know, at least for Yuzi, do you think it would have worked better if our first episode had been a 2-parter? Like, what if we had just aired episodes 1 and 2 together? Like, does that alleviate the weird, like,
I don't
hecticness of the first episode, or
I don't necessarily think so, because then you just have an episode that is incredibly front-loaded with action and back-loaded with exposition.
The idea is they should have just made the first episode a bit longer. Like,
I mean, I think what I perhaps would have done is, I mean, I've seen a bunch of people saying that they should have made the prologue the first episode, and I'm not entirely sure I agree with that either. I think perhaps, you know, an extended cold open featuring some of that stuff might have been more effective. But I think that, you know, and at some point we have to like leave behind the artistic intent and talk about the commercial intent. And obviously, as Aqua said, you know, it is important that there is some cool robot in the first episode. You know,
I have ordered 4 high-grade kits from the Witch from Mercury.
There you go.
Dude, this show even made me want to buy Gunpla.
They're cool.
It's working.
It's working. I mean, okay, so here's the thing. In all seriousness, though, I actually do... I mean, we've been talking a lot about the story. I do want to give a shout-outs to the production. I think, again, first episodes of Gundam always front-load all the good shit, but, like, it's a really nice-looking... show, and I mean, not just nice looking, nice sounding. Like the sound foley during that fight, like there's that like weird, like distorted, like energy coil whine noise when the beam hits Ariel's shield, and like all the like beam splinters into a dozen little strands that like fly off it.
I think as well, I like the character design. I think Sunrise are using that very, very like high detail, high quality CGI they used in the Origin and Hathaway's Flash, which you know,
definitely
just looks really good. And they seem to have found a fairly happy medium between making the suits CG for some stuff and 2D for other bits and bobs.
Right.
You know, so yeah, like I mean, I would say that we expect a like mainline Gundam TV show to have a high budget and look very good, but I think even within those expectations, this is a smart, nice looking show.
Yeah. I will say, just as a slight aside, very like a funny realization that I guess to me it's like, as someone who has watched this franchise for too long, it didn't quite register for me. But I showed and this is also anecdotally showing that yes, this Gundam is definitely getting the attention of people outside the usual spheres. I showed the first episode or the prologue and the first episode of The Witch of the TV series proper to a friend who is not really a Gundam guy. Like he watches anime, but he's one of those guys where like the last Gundam he watched were Wing and G on Toonami, right?
Right.
And I forgot that if you do not watch a lot of Gundam regularly, funnels are like the most mind-blowing shit in the world.
Funnu.
Like he was watching that first episode, and when Ariel splits all the parts off of it and like just blasts that dude with like the funnel barrage, he fucking lost his shit. And I was like, oh shit, right, funnels are crazy.
I will say that the stinger of episode 2, where like the mysterious enemy Gundam, which is of course inevitably painted red and very flashy,
as
briefly
always,
turns itself into a human propeller of beam
oh
sabers.
my god, that was really fucking gnarly. I loved that.
Yeah,
So I guess this is all to say, the new Gundam is promising.
Yes.
This is not an endorsement necessarily for how it's going to turn out in the long run, but I think it is doing a lot of cool, interesting things, and I really hope it keeps doing cool, interesting things.
I mean, if anything, it will provide copious fuel for cool discussions on this very podcast.
Yeah, and I think, the thing about Gundams is that, like, although there has been some debate over this with Witch from Mercury, they are generally reliably year-long shows, which is fairly unusual in the modern context. And they are so wide-ranging that, a Gundam show can be very successful in some facets and less successful in others. So part of what's interesting about having a new Gundam is trying to see, again, which parts that they emphasize and which parts that they sort of gloss over. I will say that my initial impressions is that this Gundam is leaning a little bit more towards the pulpy side of the franchise rather than the hard sci-fi side. And, that's neither here nor there. It's not an endorsement of quality. But yeah, I'm excited to see where they go with it, which I think is the most important thing.
I do have to say, there's been a gnawing thought in the back of my head ever since we started talking about this show. And I sincerely hope it's not true, but this is a show about how a revolutionary technology that the mainstream just doesn't understand, and they try to ban it, and they're so unreasonable about it, they just don't see how revolutionary this technology is. And I'm like, Ayn Rand, is that you? Please don't turn this show into, the fucking Fountainhead.
I mean, we obviously don't know the full story, but it does seem that the technology kills its users.
Right.
That seems to be a major issue with it.
I mean, it does, but obviously, whatever is going on with Soletta,
but it's just so good,
She doesn't seem to be harmed by it, at least so far. For all we know, it's just that her tolerance is higher and it still kills you. But yeah, I mean, again, that is the thing with
humans
Gundam.
into space, even though they already are in space, but even further into space.
I will say that there are occasional allusions to Earth, which seem to indicate that Delling might not be the ultimate authority in this world.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't know where he ranks on the totem pole.
Right. I mean, we'll probably have to make this the last.
He runs this quarter of the universe, but not necessarily the entire universe. Right.
We could probably speculate about a Gundam forever, so the last thing I'll say about that is, like, it seems like Delling and the Benerit group, I mean, they are called the very goofy Spacians, right? Like, Spacians versus Earthians, right? Yes. And it seems like, at least based in the school, Earthians are definitely second class, right? Like, you get that scene at the lunch table. So, it
also,
would not...
like, Mio, what's her name, wants to go to Earth. Like, she has some reason to go to Earth.
And for some reason, her father is extremely against that. So I suspect that if this ever does turn into the more traditional Earth versus space Gundam story, it is probably going to be on the back of that foreshadowing.
What if the Spacians take the school and drop it onto Earth?
It's been done.
It would not even be the craziest thing an evil person in Gundam has done. A school would be small time. But yeah, all right. I
What
think
if the colony we dropped was also an orphanage?
yeah, just amp it up. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this podcast. I think this fall season overall pretty promising. A lot of interesting stuff, and again, we haven't even watched everything yet. There is the likes of your Bleaches and Chainsaw Man's on the horizon.
I mean, I think Bleach will be super interesting. Like, I don't think anybody's expecting it to be crazy good, but it's going to be fascinating.
If you've read the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, you know that this upcoming anime is not going to have much to it.
But yeah, still plenty of stuff to go through next time, I think.
For sure. Like we will have even more. We will have more first impressions for the next podcast.
We will all become aware of the truth of the universe, and the truth is Halloween.
But
man, that won't even be in this season of Chainsaw Man.
Wait. Oh God, no, it definitely won't. Yeah, no, we're definitely not getting Halloween until like a hypothetical season 2. But all right, enough of that. So, all right, let's do this housekeeping, and then everybody can go home. You can check out the podcast as well as all of our lovely first look posts that we have written up for this season.
Quick plug as well. I wrote a final thoughts post on Made in Abyss, the Golden City of the Scorching Sun, where I kind of articulate some of my feelings about the show that I, in a little more depth than I get to do on the podcast. So if you're interested, check that out. That's on the site as well.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that one, having read it, because we didn't really get a chance to do a proper, last impressions for Made in Abyss because of the timing. And so I do think it is good that we were able to get your thoughts in a more long-form version on the very troubled themes of the second season there. But yes, you can read that and all this other stuff at theglorioblog.com. You can follow us on Twitter at theglorioblog. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Stitcher. Hey, if you like what we're listening, if you like what you're listening to, leave a review. It doesn't actually matter what you give it. 1 star, 5 stars, it's all engagement to us, baby. And but you know what?
Joe will fire us if we don't get 5-star reviews.
Yeah, and it's not my place to say what kind of podcast we are, but I think it's worth leaving that up to our sophisticated, charming, and handsome listeners. So I'll leave it up to you guys. You can also listen to the podcast on YouTube, where you can, comment, and subscribe. And I think that's going to do it for episode 121 of the GLORIO Chat. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll see you next time amongst the sea of stars.
Space lesbian!